Being able to lock in is so essential into leveling up in the game of life. A lot of people, whenever they're in a rut, whenever they're in a tough situation, whenever they're faced with a resistance, they can't lock in. They can't keep moving forward past the resistance. So what do? Some of the reasons that we cannot lock in includes emotional trauma, not being able to process our feelings, understanding that, well, okay, we're not actually in a rut. We're not fulfilling our basic needs for life. And you even have desires that are unfulfilled and you fulfill them in unhealthy ways, therefore self-sabotaging. Before we start though, self-sabotage is a maladaptive way of you adjusting to resistance. So what does that mean? Self-sabotage is not a bad thing. Self-sabotage is a way for you to protect yourself and a way for you to fulfill your needs that everyone has in an unhealthy way. So self-sabotage would include what? Playing video games because you don't really get much achievement out in the real world, or watching porn because you don't love yourself and you don't really get love from other people. You don't get validated from other people. This also includes eating for comfort because you're trying to escape from something. You can't, whenever you're faced with resistance, you go right into the food. The good foods, especially the GMO foods. The first one I'm going to get into is the poor mental health. You might not realize it, but if our mental health is going down, the rest of our life is going to go down. With a poor mental health, you will have a poor physique, you will have poor work, you will show up in poor relationships. All of it is relative. Mental health is a foundation. I'm not here to soothe how you feel. It's okay to feel. It's okay to feel these things, but you gotta validate your feelings. You can't just feel a negative emotion and just shove it back in the back of your mind because it's gonna come back to haunt you. A lot of people have mental health because they don't live like humans anymore. They don't go out into the sun, they don't touch grass, they don't talk to people, they don't laugh, they don't smile, they don't do challenging things. That's a really big part into mental health because we don't live like we were always supposed to live. To give you some practical advice, if you have poor mental health, think about the thing that's really bothering you. You know what is giving you bad mental health. Either it's school, you're stressed about school, you had a fight with your friend. There's many things that you could be stressed about and it will give you bad mental health. But what you really need to do is process those feelings. We don't know how to feel as humans nowadays because we were always told to, who cares how you feel, right? No, we need to care how we feel, but we don't need to act how we feel. The acting part is totally up to you, no matter how you feel. So the reason you cannot lock in, the reason you can't focus is because you're not taking care of those basic needs, that mental health of yours. So some things that I would do is to go into solitude, is to go into journaling and going into moments of being by yourself and understanding why you're upset, what is upsetting you, how can you move forward, and kind of switch from a fixed mindset like, okay, I'm not going to get better, this thought, these events, these things keep haunting me, into going into, okay, these things might be haunting me, these things might be bothering me, but how can I move forward? You need to switch from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. That also means it's not always about you. When you see something at face value, it's not always what it actually is. So I suggest, if you do have poor mental health and you realize that, go into solitude, figure out who you are, ask yourself difficult questions, and really solve it before going back out into the real world. The next thing I'm gonna get into is your basic necessities for life. We live in a world of abundance now. We're not in a survival mode. So why are we all stuck in a fight or flight mode? We're all really malnourished. All the food is like being manipulated by these big companies, and big pharma shoves a lot of medications down your throat. We still live in a survival mode, but there's so much abundance out there of money, of food, of people, of joy, of things that you can get. There's so many things out there, but you need to switch from a survival mode to creative mode. If you ever played Minecraft and you've played survival mode, switch from that to creative mode. But that doesn't really solve the issue. But what I'm really trying to get at is, in order to get into creative mode, you need to assess all the basic needs of your life. Good sleep, good food, being nourished, having human interaction, make sure you're drinking good water. It really is taking care of the basic needs. I'll put it up on screen, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That bottom line, your basic needs for survival, is what you really need to take care of. Are you really getting good sleep? Are you interacting with people? Are you eating good foods? These are the things you really need to keep in the back of your mind, because your mental health will go down, therefore everything else will go down if the foundation is cracked, if it's weak, if it's fragile. Next thing is going to be your unfulfilled needs. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, we all have different desires from each other. It all stems from childhood. For example, if you're kind of a person who once attention and wants a lot of validation from other people, then you probably didn't get a lot of it when you were younger. And so then as you grow up, you crave it more. So it's not a bad thing that you want these things, but it's good to know that these things are, so you can, okay, give the attention to yourself. You to build these needs intrinsically and make sure you fulfill these needs throughout your day, because after survival, you gotta fulfill your desires and your needs. If you're a type of person who didn't get a lot of love when he was a child, then you probably need to love yourself. You need to learn how to love yourself. Instead of staying in this single narrow-minded mindset, we gotta switch from a growth mindset, like I said, and expand further. How can I fulfill my needs? A lot of people are not secure with their financial, but you don't realize that like I said, we live in an abundance world. There's so much money out there, and it's so much easier for me to say because I'm not necessarily broke. I don't have that a lot of money, but I do live with my parents. Therefore, I am in a situation where, okay, I do have shelter, etc., but I do make my own money. I might not have a lot of it, but I've understand that I will be okay regardless. And it's not because, okay, my parents are protecting me, but just the fact that there's so much out there in the world that if I really needed it, I can go and get it. And that's going from a narrow mindset to a wider, more expanded mindset. You got to stretch your mind into seeing how you can fulfill these needs of yours. So I suggest you sit down with yourself and be like, okay, what you want, what you actually want, and then ask yourself why. You see, your subconscious has these needs that you don't even know about. For example, you might have the feeling of being needed by someone, but that might mask itself and come up as, okay, you want attention from other people. What you actually need is to be needed, is to have attention. The more that we fulfill these needs in a healthy way, not self-sabotaging and coping by doing it in unhealthy ways, then the less louder that siren will be in the back of our mind. If you simply take care of your survival, if you take care of your basic needs, and you fit these all in your schedule, you can lock in. It might seem complicated at first, like, okay, how am I going to get all my needs and then lock in? It's once you start moving forward, you realize that it's actually pretty easy. It's as simple as changing up your routines, as simple as going to bed early, it's as simple as taking care of yourself. A lot of people, they don't take care of themselves. They expect other people to take care of them for them, but you need to learn how to do it yourself. After we move up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs and we fulfill our desires, okay, and we understand that with a bad mental health, everything else is relative with that, including our money, our business, our attention, our physical abilities. Everything goes down with mental health. The next thing that we need is a clear direction, because you might have all these things, but what do you do next? What do you do after? You need to have a direction. What's something that you can actually lock in on? People, they want to focus and you want to put their attention on some things that they don't even care about. A lot of that has to do with school in general. I remember when I used to be in school, I didn't really care at all. I didn't really care about giving things on time. I was just half-assing everything. I was, getting by. I was like a B student. I was just an average B student. I didn't really care. And so how am I supposed to lock in for a test? How am I supposed to actually sit down and study, but I don't even care about something? So what do you care about? If you are studying for school and you don't really care about it, ask yourself, okay, what will this lead me towards? Because if you're doing activities that don't lead you towards anything that you actually want, then what's the point of doing that? If you're working a job, okay, I work a part-time job in order to make money. Why do I need to make money? So I can pay my bills, right? That is a good example. Why do I need to pay my bills? Because so I can take care of my basic necessities for life. You trickle down all the way down to your Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's really where it all stems from. But this whole video, the main thing you really need to do is just sit down with yourself, go into solitude. Turn off your phone for once and be bored and sit down with a piece of paper in front of you and be like, okay, how can I move forward? That's how you can grow. That's how you can stretch your mind. We need to, as humans, adopt more of our growth mindset, because as humans, we can thrive so heavily if we really wanted to. People like David Goggins, he's the person to expand the way that humans evolve and the humans thrive. The way he's pushing his body, even when he's fucking bleeding and his bones are broken, he can still push forward. But you can't even get out of bed. You can't even get off your phone. You can't even fulfill your basic needs of life. And so we need to switch from this narrow mindset to this fixed mindset. Stretch your mind. There's so much more out there. We live in abundance. There's so much more for you to get out there. And if you don't take care of your basic needs and have a direction of where you're walking, you're just going to be a feather in the wind and you'll end up somewhere you didn't even want to be in. All of a sudden, you don't have, for a lot of the control freaks out there, I myself can be a little bit controlling with my life. If you don't like the fact that people are controlling where you're going, then control for yourself. Take life by the horns. Don't be such a victim to what society's doing to you, and take it and use the system to your advantage to move forward. And so I hope this video has helped you. Make sure to continue your journey and keep moving forward.